welcome back to our channel, or if you're new, I'm Becca, half of Becca and Soph. I'll put a picture of myself and Sophie on screen here, and in today's video I just wanted to chat to you about personal statements. But before I start, if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on Instagram. I'll put it on screen here. We also post lots of things on there. You can scroll back for our old posts as well if you want like tips and tricks for various things from our previous videos. But in today's video, I just wanted to chat to you about personal statements. So I know a lot of you will be writing them around like now in the Christmas period. I feel like it's a really good time to write them because obviously you're not at school and focusing on like mocks or anything like that. So you just have a prolonged period where you can sit down and get writing. So I know a lot of my family, so for example, my cousin and my brother are actually like trying to write their personal statements at the moment. So this video is for you guys, but also for anyone else who's struggling to get started. So my first top tip would be to get a structure down. Literally open a Word document and get your structure. So the structure that I recommend using and that I've used myself is opening paragraph. So that's usually something that like grabs the reader in and also talks about like why you're interested in the subject. So I will link mine and Sophie's personal statement videos below. So mine was for accounting and finance and Sophie's was for law, and we just read out literally word for word our personal statements. So if you're in need of some inspiration, I feel like they're really good videos to watch. And we've also done a how to write a personal statement video, which has like a very deep breakdown of exactly what we recommend doing as well. So again, I'll link that below. Going back to the structure, my structure is why I'm interested as the first paragraph and like a paragraph that pulls you in. So for example, although it was back in 2016 when I wrote this, mine was about like cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So kind of more topical, I guess, in the most recent years. And then my paragraph 2 was like about academics and like books and podcasts and things like that I'd listened to and read. My third paragraph was about work experience that was relevant to the course that I was going for. And then my fourth was extracurricular activities, and fifth was just a brief conclusion. So just write those headings down on a Word document and start like planning out with like bullet points what you'd like to include in each one. You don't have to write them in order, and I feel like that's one of the main things that people often like struggle with is the first paragraph. I actually wrote the first paragraph last when I was writing mine, and I found it really useful to listen to other people's personal statements or to like read my friends, for example, just to like gauge an idea of what kind of thing I should be writing. So I think that's a really good idea too if you're not sure. So like I said, under each of those paragraphs, make sure you bullet point everything that you want to do or write. Also chat to teachers at your school or anyone that you know in the year above you, for example, that's been successful applying for those courses. I always think that's a really good way of like knowing if you're on the right track. Also get like your parents or a friend or someone that you think would be good to read the personal statements just to see if you're on the right track. My next tip would be to just, start writing. Like even if you think, oh, this is absolutely awful, to be honest, you'll probably cut a load of what you write out eventually anyway. So I'll put the word count or the character count that has to be in a personal statement on screen here, but you can find all of the information on the UCAS website as well, which again, I will link below. But that gives you like a deeper breakdown of exactly the requirements of a personal statement. But I recommend just writing something down to start with, even if you have to cut it all out at the end just to get the ball rolling. Next, I just wanted to chat through if you're unsure of like what to include in each of the sections that I mentioned, or if you want to structure it differently, that's obviously absolutely fine. It's your personal statement and it should reflect you. So obviously this is my opinion, but it doesn't have to be your opinion and what you do as well. But yeah, in the first section, like I said, talk about, something that you're interested in and like what sparked your interest in the subject or what you're really passionate about within the subject, like a smaller section, and obviously make sure that that's relevant to the degree that you're applying for. So for example, like I said, I was applying for finance and accounting, and cryptocurrency was very much on the rise back then with the introduction of blockchain and everything like that, and people were first hearing about Bitcoin. It was all very interesting. So yeah, I definitely think that was a reason why I liked finance. But this paragraph should just be, I guess, about you. There's no like set format of what you've got to write, and you don't have to write it in like super technical language. I actually think sometimes that devalues a personal statement, and maybe mine was subject to this as well, but I tried to make it sound like really fancy, and I really don't think it needs to be. I just think it needs to be like short, simple, and you. Paragraph 2 is about like academics and books. So if you're not sure what kind of books or podcasts or anything like that you should be listening to or reading, make sure you reach out to your teachers who teach you in that subject, or if it's a subject that you're applying for that you haven't done before, just have a quick Google and see like the best books and stuff to read. Obviously make sure you read them and then talk about something that's interested you in that book. So I read a lot of economics books when I was applying for accounting and finance, just because that was my favourite subject at school at the time. I also read a couple of finance things and listened to some podcasts, but to be honest, the economics ones were what was really interesting to me. So they're the ones that I wrote about. Paragraph 3, I said about work experience. If you literally haven't had any work experience at all, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to write about it and you don't need to have this paragraph, but try and link the work experience that you have had, even if it's just volunteering because of D of E, or you've worked in a restaurant like I did. Anything that you have done that you could relate to like teamwork, communication, understanding of people's behaviors, for example, you could link it to if you were trying to do like sociology or psychology. Anything like judiciary or legal you could do for law, and it doesn't actually have to be set and specifically related. Like you don't have to have done accounting work experience to apply to accounting and finance, and a lot of people don't. But I think it would be really great if you could do like an insight day at an accounting company before. I think that would look great, just to show that you're really passionate about the subject. And then for the final like main paragraph, extracurricular activities. So a lot of universities don't just want a person who is purely academic, they want a well-rounded person as well. So have you done any volunteering, any charity work? Have you been on a sports team for a while? Have you done drama or art outside of school or within school in clubs? Like any kind of extracurricular activity. It doesn't really matter what it is, but if it's something that interests you, I think it's really important to show that you aren't just a number. You actually have all these other things going for you as well. And then finally, your conclusion. I feel like you can kind of get a more generic conclusion, to be honest, as long as it's like reflective of you, like I said, and also just kind of rounds off this is why I think you should take me on as a student. And then my next tip is, if you're applying for specific universities, if you haven't already been to their open day, it might be worth going there to have a look and have a chat to the lecturers there and see, if they've got any thoughts on anything, or if they mention like a very specific module that you'll do at the university. So for example, with mine, I knew I was doing economics modules in a lot of the universities that I was applying for accounting and finance. So that's why I included it in my personal statement. I think it's really good to add like specific things about the university that links to them. I guess it's the same with applying for jobs as well, which we've obviously done videos on, and I can link them below for you too. But I think it's really good to have specific points for certain universities, although you have to be careful to not be so specific that it won't allow your personal statement to apply to all 5 of the universities. So for example, say I was applying to Cambridge University, I couldn't say I want to go to the University of Cambridge because obviously then no other university is going to look at that and think, oh, we should accept this person because they obviously want to just go to Cambridge and they've just applied to us as a backup. So I really wouldn't specify, that much about it, but I think it would be a really good way of, just showing that you did research before you applied. And then my final tip is, I've said it so many times already, but make sure this statement is reflective of you, especially if you're gonna have like a phone interview or an in-person interview for these universities after. Make sure that you've read all the books, that you can talk about them. Make sure the statement is reflective of your wants and your experience and why you want to go to these universities and study this subject, not just a generic, I want to go to university, any university to study any subject. Like, it's got to be specific as far as you can. So I really hope those tips have helped. Please let me know if you've got any questions. You can DM us on Instagram, or even better, to comment below on this video. Please give this a like if you enjoyed it and you want to see any more content like this, and let us know any questions or feedback in the comments as well. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye!